Some of the strangest things your cat does are actually the most meaningful. Walking towards you in the middle of the night, stretching the instant they see you, then licking and suddenly biting your hand, these aren't random habits. They're hidden messages that reveal exactly how your cat feels about you, and most people never notice them. So, let's uncover what each one really means. Number 1. If your cat walks on you at night, they're trying to tell you this. Your cat isn't wandering when they walk across you at night, they're running through instinct, one paw at a time. First, they're checking you're still breathing, landing right on your chest or your throat. Because in the wild, an animal that goes still is either hurt or gone, and cats need proof you're neither. Then comes the marking. Paw pads hide scent glands, and every step reclaims you as theirs before your daytime scent erases it. Sometimes they freeze mid-step, ears locked on nothing, because they just heard something you physically can't. A pipe, a floorboard, a sound above 20,000 hertz that only exists in their world. Other nights it's pure heat-seeking. Your core runs warmer than anywhere else in the room, so they scan across your body like a thermal map until they land on the hottest spot. Come 5 a.m., that same walk turns into a full campaign, purring straight into your ear, pawing your hand, because dawn is their sharpest hour and breakfast feels close. And if they start kneading, slow rhythmic pushes into your chest, that's the oldest instinct they own, a leftover from nursing as a kitten, your heartbeat standing in for their mothers. Every single walk across you at night comes down to one thing: your cat making sure you're still there. That's the nighttime version. There's a daytime signal that looks even more deliberate, and it starts the second your cat gets up and locks eyes with you. They do a long, slow stretch right in front of you. Notice how your cat never just stretches, they stretch at you? Back arched, claws out, eyes locked on yours the whole time. Basic stretching happens whether anyone's watching, just working a kink out after a nap. This version is different. It's aimed. A full stretch exposes your cat's belly and spine, the two most defenseless parts of their body, so doing it deliberately in front of you plays the same trust card as a slow blink or a rollover, minus the vulnerability of actually staying still. It's also a warm-up move. Watch what happens right after. A walk to the food bowl, a jump onto your lap, a demand for pets. The stretch is rarely the whole message. It's the opening line before the real ask. Watch what happens right after that stretch, because the next move often involves their tongue, and it's not as random as it looks. They lick your hand, arm, or hair out of nowhere. Mid-cuddle, no warning, that rough tongue starts working your hand like it owes rent. Cats don't groom for hygiene alone. It's a bonding ritual called allo-grooming, and they only do it to whoever's inside their trusted circle. The same treatment they'd give a sibling or a parent cat. The sandpaper feel comes from tiny hook-shaped papillae, built for stripping loose fur off another cat's coat, not really designed with human skin in mind, which is exactly why it stings a little. Salt plays a part too, which is why hands get targeted right after a meal. One thing worth watching: calm, occasional licking is bonding. Non-stop licking, especially aimed at themselves instead of you, usually means stress, not affection. That tongue is affection with a texture problem. There's a gentler version of the same message, one that comes with actual force behind it. They headbutt your leg, hand, or face, bunting. That's the actual name for it, and it's one of the most direct trust signals a cat gives. Scent glands sit concentrated around the forehead, cheeks, and chin, so pressing their head into your leg, your hand, your face if you're lying down, deposits scent straight onto you. The same logic as rubbing against furniture, just far more targeted and usually saved for whoever they trust most. Cats don't hug. This is about as close as the behavior gets. Some cats put real weight behind it, enough force to catch you off guard, especially right after you've been away. That timing isn't coincidence, it's relief. Your scent missing from theirs for too long, and getting corrected the second you walk through the door. That headbutt says hello. What your cat does the second you walk away, afterward says something else entirely. They follow you from room to room, even into the bathroom. Kitchen, laundry room, bathroom, doesn't matter. a few steps behind every time. Boredom gets blamed, but the real driver is territorial. You're the most valuable moving resource in your cat's world. Food, warmth, safety, attention, all wrapped into one. So keeping track of you is keeping track of everything that matters. There's a social layer too, if cats form real attachment bonds. Closer to how dogs check in and stay close than the lone wolf reputation suggests. The bathroom specifically throws people off, but it's rarely deeper than an open door and a small space your cat happened to be near. Constant shadowing isn't clinginess. It's your cat treating you as the one fixed point worth tracking in an otherwise unpredictable house. Following you everywhere is one kind of trust. Flat on their back in the middle of the floor is a much riskier one. They roll over and show you their belly. A belly roll is not a request. Say that twice if you've ever gone in for a rub and come out scratched. The belly is the least protected part of a cat's body. No bone, thin fur in some breeds, straight to the organs. Exposing it on purpose is a trust move. Your cat announcing they feel safe enough to be defenseless in front of you for a second. That's the whole message. It was never an invitation to touch. Most cat bellies are loaded with nerve endings, and even the most affectionate cat can flip from calm to claws the moment a hand lands there. Take the compliment without cashing it in. A slow blink back, or a scratch under the chin instead, keeps the trust intact. That belly exposure is vulnerability on purpose. There's a sound your cat makes, though, that shows up in moments that are anything but calm. They purr, even when they're hurt or scared. Purring shows up in exactly the situations you'd least expect it. At the vet, mid-panic, right after surgery, invisible pain. That contradiction sat unexplained for years until researchers looked at what a purr actually is. A low, steady vibration, roughly 25 to 150 hertz, generated by fast muscle contractions in the voice box. That frequency range happens to overlap with ranges linked to bone density and faster tissue repair. So purring may not be purely emotional. It might be closer to a built-in recovery mechanism your cat reaches for under stress, not just comfort. Same sound, two completely different jobs, a relaxed loaf on your lap, or a rigid, terrified cat in a carrier. Learn to read the body underneath the purr, not just the purr itself. That same purring cat has a favorite hiding spot that makes almost no physical sense at all. They squeeze into boxes and spaces, way too small for them. Give a cat any container smaller than they are, and they will get in it. Laundry basket, cereal box, bathroom sink, doesn't matter. Two instincts are doing the work here. First, safety. A tightly enclosed space is much harder for a predator to grab from multiple sides. So squeezing in cuts down exposed surface area, an old wiring that never turned off. Second, heat. Cats run warmer than you do, and tight spaces trap body heat far better than open floor, which is exactly why boxes get more popular once the temperature drops. Shelter cats given a box to hide in even settle into new environments faster and show fewer stress signs than cats without one. That absurd image of your cat folded into something 2 sizes too small isn't comedy. It's your cat picking the safest, warmest seat in the house. Boxes solve a real problem for your cat. A laser pointer creates one they can never actually finish. They chase the laser dot and never catch it. Sprint, pounce, nothing. Every time, and yet they'll do it again in the next 5 seconds. That's a strange loop for a hunting animal to stay motivated inside. A real hunt has an ending. Stalk, chase, catch, something physical between the paws that tells the brain the sequence is done. A laser skips that last step entirely, so the drive it triggers never actually gets to switch off. Some cats shrug it off as exercise. Others build real frustration over time, and vets have pointed to laser-only play as a possible contributor to compulsive behavior in cats who never get a physical win. Fix is simple, and almost nobody does it. End the session by letting them actually catch something, a toy, a treat dropped right where the dot was. Give the hunt an ending, or you're just running them through one that never pays off. That unfinished hunt doesn't just vanish either. Sometimes it shows up again right at the food bowl, in a move that looks a lot like burying evidence. They scratch and dig around their food or water bowl. Eat, then paw and scratch at the floor around the bowl like they're trying to bury it, sometimes flicking food halfway across the kitchen in the process. Not pickiness, ancestry. In the wild, a cat that just ate would cover the leftovers to mask the scent from bigger predators and keep other animals from stealing what's left. Your kitchen floor obviously isn't dirt and there's nothing to actually bury, but the motion never got the memo. Some cats aim this specifically at food they don't want, using the covering motion to dismiss it rather than save it, which explains a lot of the picky eater reputation cats carry unfairly. Watch when it happens. Right after a full meal versus right after barely touching the bowl tells you two very different stories. That burying instinct kicks in after the meal. Something just as old kicks in the second you wake up the next morning. They sniff your face or nose when you wake up. Eyes open, and your cat's face is already there, nose nearly touching yours, taking a long sniff before anything else happens. Identification, not just closeness. Cats lean on scent far more than sight to recognize who's around them, and after hours apart while you slept, your scent has shifted slightly, sweat, skin, whatever the blanket picked up overnight. That morning sniff is your cat confirming it's really you before the day starts. The same nose-to-nose check they'd run with a cat they trust. It's usually followed fast by a head rub, your cat adding their own scent back once the check clears. Do this every morning with you and skip it with strangers, and that's your answer. A recognition ritual reserved for whoever's actually inside the circle. That morning sniff is a full-body check. But your cat's body keeps sending signals all day long, and one part of it never really stops talking. Their tail tip twitches while they look totally calm. Everything about your cat looks relaxed, ears up, body loose, maybe even lying down, except the very tip of their tail, flicking back and forth like it's got its own agenda. That flick is one of the most reliable mood readouts a cat gives, and it has almost nothing to do with the rest of their body language. A slow, controlled tip flick usually means focus. They're locked onto something, a bird outside, a toy, your hand moving too close. Speed it up and widen the swing, and you're watching irritation build in real time, often well before any growl or hiss shows up. The mistake most owners make is reading the calm face and missing the tail entirely, then getting surprised by a swat that had actually been telegraphed for the last 30 seconds. Watch the tail before you read anything else. It usually tells you what's coming before your cat's expression does. The tail is the mood readout. The next sound coming out of your cat is a message all on its own. They greet you with a chirp instead of a meow. Sometimes your cat doesn't meow when you walk in, they chirp. A short, rolled, almost bird-like trill that sounds nothing like their usual voice. That sound comes from a different vocal mechanism than a meow, and it's not learned from humans at all. Mother cats use that exact trill to call kittens to follow or pay attention, a soft, urgent, come-here sound built into cats before they're ever weaned. When an adult cat trills at you walking through the door, they're using the same call, minus the kitten on the other end. It's almost always a greeting, rarely a complaint, and tends to show up specifically around people. The cat is genuinely glad to see rather than strangers. If your cat has a signature chirp they only do for you, that's not a random noise. That's your cat calling you the way they'd call their own kitten home. That chirp is a greeting built just for you. What your cat does to your couch 5 minutes later is a message too, just a much more expensive one. They scratch the couch instead of the scratching post right in front of you. You buy the scratching post, set it up in the perfect spot, and your cat walks straight past it to shred the corner of the couch while making eye contact with you. That's not spite. Scratching does two jobs at once. It sheds the outer layer of the claw sheath the way a snake sheds skin, and it leaves both a scent mark from glands in the paw and a visible gouge mark other cats can see. A visible scratch says something a hidden scent mark can't. It's a billboard, not a whisper. Couches often win over posts simply because they're softer, more central, and closer to where your cat already spends time. Location usually beats material. Doing it while watching you isn't defiance either. It's often confirmation seeking, checking your reaction the same way a stretch checks for attention. Moving a scratching post to the exact spot they're already choosing, instead of where it looks nice, fixes this faster than any post ever will. That scratch mark is a signature. There's another spot on your cat's body that gets just as territorial, and it reacts the second you touch it. They lift their rear. When you pet near their tail, pet along your cat's back, and the second your hand reaches the base of the tail, their rear end pops straight up into the air. It looks involuntary, and honestly, it kind of is. That reflex traces back to kittenhood, when mother cats lift newborns' tails to clean and stimulate them, an automatic response wired in from birth that never fully switches off. In adult cats, it doubles as a trust posture. Lifting the rear exposes the base of the tail, an area loaded with scent glands, essentially inviting a closer, more personal greeting, the same way cats sniff each other there first. Cats generally only allow this specific spot to be touched by people or animals they're fully comfortable with. If your cat does the elevator butt for you and bolts from anyone else who tries it, that's not an accident. That's a very specific level of trust reserved for exactly one circle. That reflex says trust. The next moment is completely different. No touching involved at all, just eyes. They give you a long, unblinking stare from across the room. Not every stare from your cat is the slow, sleepy kind. Sometimes it's dead still, pupils locked, no blinking, and it can go on long enough to feel almost unnatural. Among cats, a hard stare like that usually functions as a low-level challenge or an intense read on something unfamiliar, the opposite energy of a relaxed, slow blink. Pointed at you specifically, it's rarely hostile. More often, it means your cat is trying to predict what happens next. You standing up, a bag rustling, dinner time approaching, anything that's about to change. Cats process a huge amount of information through sustained visual focus, more than most owners give them credit for. The tell that separates a curious stare from an actual warning is the rest of the body. Ears forward and tail loose means curiosity. Ears back, tail low, or thumping means back off. Same eyes, completely different message once you check everything else. That stare is one way your cat studies you. Talking to you is a completely different skill, and it's one they only picked up for humans specifically. They meow constantly at you, but almost never at other cats. Put two adult cats in a room, and they'll barely meow at each other. Maybe a hiss, a growl, mostly just posture and scent. Put one of those same cats alone with you, and suddenly they won't stop talking. That's not a coincidence, and it's not really instinct either. Meowing at another adult cat is mostly a kitten behavior, used to call a mother, and it fades out once cats grow up around other cats. But somewhere along thousands of years of living with humans, cats figured out that meowing actually works on us. We respond to it, feed them, pay attention, react. So they kept doing it, specifically at people, essentially a language cats built just for us and never bothered using on each other. Every meow you hear is a learned habit shaped entirely around what gets a reaction out of you specifically, refined over their whole life, with you as the only audience that matters. That meow was built just for you. What happens the instant you actually touch them is a much quieter reply. They groom themselves right after you pet them. You pet your cat, they seem into it, and the second you stop, they immediately start licking the exact spot your hand was on. It's easy to read that as rejection, like they're washing you off in disgust. Usually it isn't. Cats are constantly managing their scent profile, and petting adds a layer of your scent on top of theirs. Grooming right after isn't erasing you, it's blending you in, working your scent into their own coat, rather than leaving it sitting on the surface. Some of it is also simple sensory reset. Fur gets slightly disturbed by petting, and grooming smooths it back into place. The version actually worth paying attention to is intense, almost frantic grooming immediately after contact, especially if paired with flattened ears or a tail flick. That combination usually does mean the petting went on a little too long. Context around the grooming tells you which one you're watching. Count them up. Out of these 19, how many does your cat actually do to you? Comment the number right now, because most owners stop counting around 5 or 6 and completely undersell how attached their cat actually is. Hit double digits and comment. Double. I want to see how many of you are living with a cat that's basically obsessed. And if your cat does something that wasn't even on this list, put it in the comments. The next video might get built entirely out of what you tell me here. Like and subscribe if this changed how you're going to read your cat tonight.